What's the deal with all this monkey business going on with these insane Bitcoin predictions here in the last few days? Let's break it down and look at the chart and make some sense of this. What's up, gang? It is I, Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And we have got to talk. There's been just so much nonsense going on here lately. I've got my coffee ready for this because we're going to have to talk a lot about this chart action.
Woo!
We've had a lot of craziness that has been going on with Bitcoin as it has been just fooling us, changing its mind, being psychotic here in the last few days, up, down, up, down, up, down, giving us a hint that we're breaking out, then pulling back, then breaking up again, then jumping back down into this same support and resistance zone that I have been tracking for the last, I don't know how many weeks. It's been several weeks. And all the while, we're getting all of these crazy Bitcoin prediction videos where nobody seems to be getting this right. So on the one hand, we have BitBoy calling for a $120,000 break to the upside. We've got George. Everybody's George. All of the George people think that we're going to blast off to 100,000 very soon, right now. We have Crypto Kirby, who has been flip-flopping on the daily, where he has been bearish for quite some time, and then he came out and said, well, my goodness, it looks like the bears have it wrong. We're about to blast to the upside. And then all of a sudden, we creep right back down to this same support and resistance zone. So how do we make sense of this? The only way that we can is to look at the evidence on the chart and break it down and see what is sitting right in front of us without all of these crazy predictions coming from the big mouths on YouTube. So let's get rid of my handsome face and just start out right here, right now on the 4-hour chart. This is unrehearsed. I'm going to look at this as it is and show you what I have been noticing. And we're going to figure out if we can shine a light through this dark forest of craziness that has been going on. Now, to begin with, on this 4-hour, as I said, here is the support and resistance box, this zone here that has had lots of prior action where we broke through it before and destroyed it back here on September the 2nd. We jumped up above it about September 1st. And I thought that because of how many candles that we closed above this support resistance zone, that we were going to stay up here, right here. Here we have it, all these candles. And then all of a sudden, what did we get? This big fat red candle that sent us right back down into the zone. After that point, we bounced around up and down, up and down. We hinted at breaking down below it, but it held the bottom. We tried to break down below again, and then just like magic, Bitcoin decides to go psychotic on us and change its mind and blow right back through the top above the support and resistance zone. But what do you notice here? As we have jumped up above the support and resistance zone, where are we getting rejected? Well, we're getting rejected at the top of this blue line, which represents the parallel trading bearish channel that we have been sitting in for quite some time. And we'll be able to see that a little bit more clearly when we zoom out to the 1-day chart. Now, at the end of this, I'm going to show you the 1-week chart and show you something rather shocking that if it plays out, it's going to shake up a lot of people. But we'll get to that. For right now, what is going to happen with Bitcoin? Well, let's clear this and zoom in just a little bit more on the micro level and take a look at what the stochastic is telling us. Now, we have a clear stochastic peak right here. Fast line has overtaken the slow line. The fast line is the percent K, which is the blue line. The slow line is the percent D, which is the red line. And we have a clear downward momentum with a nice little divergence. There's a gap in between these lines, which tells us that we have a continued momentum here that will probably go further south. At the same time, if we look at the MACD oscillators, which lags behind the stochastic, we were coming up nicely as we were breaking through the top of the channel from this low point all the way up. But what do we have right here staring us right smack in the face? Boom, right there. The fast line is about to cross over that slow line, and the histogram is right at the zero line, getting ready to print some red bars down here in the negative. So we could see something like this happen as this momentum continues. Okay, now if this stochastic decides to continue on down, we could bottom out, drop below the 20 line, which is the border between this normal range and being in the oversold condition. But will this hold true and bring us all the way down for like a capitulation style dump? I don't think so. Right now, it looks to me like we could complete this cycle and end up at the bottom of the support and resistance zone, at which there could be a point that we could bounce up again. I think we're going to be done with this box very soon, and you'll see why as we move on. So for right now, in the immediate, I look for Bitcoin to sink down to 45,000. There is a volume node right there on the VPVR that is at the bottom of this line, which is why I think 45,000 and change is a likely target. The price right now is above the point of control on the visible range, considering all of this activity here that goes back into the end of August. And so momentum is pulling us towards the POC line right here, at which point we could slip on down and head toward this volume node right here at the 45,000. All right, so that's what we're looking at right here on the 4 hour for the immediate. But to make this a little bit more clear, we're going to have to zoom out to the 1 day chart. Then we'll get to that 1 week chart where I can show you the shocking bit of evidence that could shake everybody's foundations. All right, so here we are on the 1 day chart. Let's scrunch this in and get as much of this in the visible range that we can and talk about the action here. Now, a few days ago, maybe 1 to 2 days ago, I was convinced that we were going to drop and drop hard, but we probably will not for the immediate. And here's why. We have to look at where the trend is going. Now, here's your parallel bearish trending trading channel that I think we're going to be out of very soon. I thought we had invalidated this trading channel before when we poked our head through the top of it. I was ready to erase it and move on to a different overall bigger picture because it looked like we broke out of this whole trend that was headed downwards like this. All right. But just as soon as we thought that the bearish trading channel was invalidated, what did we get? We got this big fat red candle right there that snatched Bitcoin back down into this same parallel, this box, the support resistance zone that has had lots of prior action serving as support and resistance. Now let's just look back in history here. It was support at this point. Then we had this activity up above. It acted as support again. And then you know what I always say, we mess with it once, twice, and then 3 times a lady, we fail it. The third touch is usually where it reverses the trend and then it flips from support to resistance. Now, by the time we came back up here to this point, I thought it would be resistance, but Bitcoin lied to us as we broke through resistance and we were above it again. So that's why it was so confusing to me, making me think, oh man, maybe we are about to blast off and hit to this upper node that's at 56, 57,000. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, but not just yet. All right, so let's look at the stochastic on the 1 day chart. I was thinking before that we were ready to blast off against my wishes because I wanted a nice correction to happen because this stochastic had bottomed out and we had a clear momentum upward. There we go, right there. So I thought, well, that's it. We're about to zoom upward. But lo and behold, let's kind of zoom in on this and take a closer look at the stochastic, because now we can see, if you look very closely, that the fast line, the percent K, is curling over and headed back down towards the slow line, the percent D. Look at that. If this continues to curl over, and that's just from these little red candles right here, there could be a reversal. So if this crossover happens, we're going to head down here. And we could cycle down and maybe dip down into the oversold zone. Now, as I always teach you, you have to look and see what the corresponding price is as it relates to the stochastic peaks and the stochastic dips. When we started out with this dip, we returned a price here. And when we got into the overbought zone and stayed just full bore pushing upward, we kept posting all of these higher highs right here. So momentum was upwards. So each time that we tried to dip down, we were printing higher lows, and then we were printing the higher highs. So then here is where we had the divergence, where stochastic was moving down and price was side banding and moving up. So on that next surge up to this peak, there we had this top that blew straight through the support resistance zone. Then we moved down. We had a strong movement of the stochastic down to this dip. But what do we see upstairs? We see a higher low right there. So that tells me that the current momentum from this low point is still in the positive. We still have upward momentum within this bearish trending trading channel. Now, at first I thought since the beginning that we're just going to bounce around in this channel. Here we were at the top, we hit the bottom, we came up a little, back to the bottom, side banding, back to the bottom, then we blasted off to the top, violated the top. Here we were right here at this peak, and then we jumped back below it. I was ready to invalidate the bearish trending trading channel when this action happened right here. But now we're back within it. And notice where we got rejected up here. Right now we're bouncing off of the top of this channel. We're bumping our head at the top of this parallel trending trading channel. We're not breaking through it. And at the same time, this stochastic is trying to curl over. Now downstairs on the MACD, we do see that the oscillators have peaked out up here. We have a peak, and we tried to cross over several times, but the fast line kept dipping below the slow line. Now they're approaching each other again, but it's in a point of weakness because overall, these oscillators are moving down. Now we do have the histogram that is looking like it's trying to fight back to the zero line, and that could happen. And then we could start to print green bars and come up like this. So what's going to happen right now? Well, here are your possibilities. Possibility number one, if this crossover happens, we dip, but where does it go down? It might stop right here at the bottom of this support resistance zone. If this stochastic gets all the way down to oversold, and we're just right here and we hold and don't drop to the next one, then I'm going to tell you what the next movement is going to be. However, if this stochastic returns to oversold and we dip down to either one of these previous support resistance zones or even this one down here, nice correction. We're going to jump down to 33,000 and then we might rebound out of this cluster here and start to surge upward. Now, let's not hang our hat on that just yet because we've still got to look at the bigger picture on the 1 week. Now let's look at the possibilities for Bitcoin breaking out of here and moving up higher. Notice this cluster here. It is centered around between 55,000 and say 58,000 right in there. So if we dip to the bottom of this and we hold while this stochastic dips all the way down to oversold, we're going to call this a higher low. And then as this new stochastic cycle starts to move upward, if it keeps momentum and it moves up, which it could because the overall trend is still doing this. And the other bit of evidence is we have the 50 EMA, this orange line right here. Do you see it? Do you see that? If we bounce on the 50, we're going to move up, and there's a great chance of the price exploding up and hitting this 57,000 volume node right in the thick of this. Now, where it goes from there is a little bit more scary. And I don't trust that this is the time that we break out. Why is that? Well, let's look at the overall volume. Since this big fat candle that happened right here, what has volume been doing? look at the volume. It is shrinking. It's going down. So volume is trending down. We had this MACD that was trending up, which is a divergence, and now it's trending down. Okay. So once we blast off of this on this low volume that we have here, if we get up here to this 55 to 57,000 range, I don't know how well this is going to hold. And that's where we can get into my bigger prediction. And this is just my guesstimation. Don't go thinking that I'm trying to hold the crystal ball and tell Crypto Kirby he's wrong, or tell George he's wrong, or any of the rest of these folks. BitBoy, Crypto, I watch them all because I get useful and valuable information from each and every one of them, even though, in my opinion, they call things wrong a lot. I think Crypto Kirby is probably the most accurate as far as what we have seen throughout this miniature bear market, or whatever you want to call it. A small bearish trending trading channel within the overall bull market. But the others have not been as accurate. They usually get caught and surprised after they call for these great big massive breakouts, and then we get these big fat corrections. All right, let's clear this and get ready, folks. Let's jump to the 1 week chart. Nobody's talking about this, but I'm ready to talk about it right here and right now. Now let's kind of zoom this out so we can see it. And we are going to look at what these volume nodes tell us on the VPVR over here on the side, and what the stochastic and MACD are telling us down below. Okay, if you don't know what a VPVR is, it is like a volume indicator that tells you what's happening at a particular price instead of a particular time. So in other words, let's say, for example, on this day, this red candle here for this week, rather, this is the amount of Bitcoin that was traded during the week, and it was mostly negative. That's why it's red. So we have that big chunk of volume. However, when we look at the volume profile, it's saying that, let's say, for instance, at the point of control, at this exact price of 99.27, we had this much of volume, or at this exact price of 33,000, we had this much volume. So it flips the volume amount to the side, to the profile, to tell you where we see the most trading happening in certain areas of price. And these little clusters poke out. What those tell us is where the whales, or more importantly, the institutions, where they have the most vigorous trading activity. Now, let's look at the stochastic on the 1 week. What do we see? A crossover right there, a big fat crossover where the fast line has crossed over the slow line, indicating a peak on the stochastic and a possible reversal of trend. Now, that's not to say that this will make it all the way down here to oversold, because we know what's happened in the past. We had a crossover right here, and what did Bitcoin do? It came back up before it finally went down, and then jumped in here into the oversold zone. And then we also have had these time periods where it just stayed buried. During this amazing bull run right here, the stochastic just stayed buried up in the top, and it flatlined. Previously, when we had a crossover here, we returned all the way down to a low, not quite into the oversold zone. After this crossover, we had a dip, but it was very light. After this crossover, we had a dip. It was medium. It went down to the 50 line. And then, of course, we had this action here where we stayed in this zone for an extended period of time, where I was saying that this has to end at some point, and Bitcoin has got to correct and get ready for the real move that happens during the real bull run. For all the people that say that this was the end of the cycle, I think they're wrong, because this would have made the shortest cycle in the history of Bitcoin. And from what I can tell, the cycles get longer as time goes on. So if this crossover holds, we're going to bounce down, and we could come sailing out of this point here down to the bottom of this parallel trading channel that is moving in a bearish direction. So what are the possibilities on the 1 week if this plays out, if this whole movement plays out? Well, there's a node right there just below 20,000. Here's another one at 23. Here's another big fat one at 33. All right, now let's just look and see exactly where those prices are. 33,992. Next one, 23,594. Next one, 19,435. Now, I don't think we're going to go down here. We've got, what is the Gartley guy, the new guy. I watch his videos with the Gartley butterfly deal, whatever it is. His videos are interesting. I think some of these people are more interested in selling memberships than giving TA. I don't have anything to sell you, okay? Because I'm just a regular guy sitting here trying to make sense of it all. So you can listen to me and there's no hidden agenda. I'm not trying to set you up to sell you a $500 a month package deal where I have a crystal ball and fill you in on where Bitcoin is going to go. And I don't know why people fall for that stuff. Why do you pay hundreds of dollars a month for people that get this stuff wrong? Instead of looking at this chart and just trying to make sense of it and making your best guess. This is gambling, folks. Educated gambling. That's what it is. So my most bearish prediction would be that if we get this rejection and we continue down, we're going to hit one of these three nodes. And that would be most glorious because I'm going to start my DCA party when we hit this first node at 33. And I will continue to buy altcoins as we go down. If Bitcoin gets to 23, I'm buying Bitcoin. If we get to 19, you better believe I'm buying Bitcoin. After that point, I don't see where people are talking about 14 or 10. Now, would I say it's impossible? No, because there's a big fat node down here. Do you see all this volume that is traded around this point? And do you see the fact that this still would be above this base level previously in history here back in the year 2020? This could still correct down here and launch off and come out of this for the bull run that I think will happen this winter to early. It could be like, say, October, November, December of 2021. My thought is closer towards December or even January to February of 2022. So this is not bad news at all. We're going to get some huge FUD that could happen. We could have a market crash. We could have a real estate crash. We could have a tether explosion. We've got the lawsuit going on where the SEC is trying to jump on Coinbase to protect the banks because they only give 0.1% on savings. And they're mad that Coinbase is offering 4% on staking. Why are they doing that? Because they know that it could cause the collapse of the banks. If people say, hey, I'm not saving my money in this bank anymore when I can jump on Coinbase and get 4%. So there's enough stories happening that we could get major FUD anywhere in this zone that could yank us down. That's my thought. Now, we could bounce out of here after the bottom of this channel and move on up. But I would say there's more of a chance that we're going to have something ugly. Why? It's because the institutions are greedy. And they're going to want to fool you the best way that they can, just like they did before, where when we were going down here and everybody was saying, we're going to 20K, we're going to 20K. And they led us all to believe that the price was going to bottom here, when they know good and well that they were going to snatch this thing up right here where it bottomed out at around 30. And then what did we have right after that? We had the run up right here. Boom. Where they got to hoard all of this cheap Bitcoin and then they could sell it off at this point and keep all of your money as they drive this price down again. Rinse, wash, and repeat. So that's what I think is going to happen. And I'm not saying that we're going to have this dip. This is not for sure. All I'm trying to tell you is beware that it could happen. Don't sit there and say, well, I can't see Bitcoin ever going below 42,000. Anything can happen. If it happens, you won't see a surprised look on my face. If we hit 33, no big surprise. If we hit 20, that'll be pretty amazing. If we hit 14 or 10,000, I won't be surprised because I think it's possible. It's of the least probability. The lower we go is the lower probability. Look at probabilities, people, and then make a game plan that can position you to win in the long run. All I'm looking to do is DCA and buy stuff before that major bull run hits. That's it. That's it. So tell me what you think. I'd also like to know what you think of all of our hot shots on YouTube and all of their bold predictions. Who do you think is right? Who do you follow? Post it in the comments below. That's all I got for now. If you watched it to this point, well, you get a cookie. Congratulations. Thanks for joining. Like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. I'm out.